Good morning to you. Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com here with your Hurricane Pro and HD video blog for Wednesday, October the 4th, 2017. The big story developing in the tropics will be, and continues to be, Invest Area 90L, tucked away down here in the southwest Caribbean Sea. We do have a disturbance up here in the Florida Straits, the eastern part of the Straits, and then over the Bahamas, that coupled with strong onshore flow coming off the Atlantic, bringing inclement weather to the Bahamas and eventually Florida, gusty onshore flow on the east side, coupled with the astronomical high tides, or what we call the king tides, and this is problematic, but this is not related to this really in any direct fashion. We do have very high pressure sitting over the east, and the strong high pressure up here, coupled with lowering pressures to the south and west, equals a fairly strong pressure gradient across this region, and this disturbance will move into the area and just add to that over the next few days. It's a rather complicated setup, but there it is nonetheless, and I think you can notice very well that this system here, 90L, definitely starting to come together. Rotation is evident, counterclockwise turning, and the hurricane hunters will investigate that later this afternoon, and we'll know if it's a tropical depression. It looks like it's trying to become that as we speak. Looking at the vorticity signature of it, fairly healthy down here, a rounded appearance to it, and it's not stretched out like we see here or with this system. This is bundling the energy together, and like I said, it's on its way to becoming a tropical depression, probably later today, and if not by then I would say almost certainly by tomorrow. In the eastern Pacific, the southeast Pacific, to be particular about it, we do have Tropical Storm Ramon, but it is going to move off in this direction away from land, so really no issues with that. So the upper ocean heat content values very high across this region. The disturbance is located here, forecast to move up into this area over the next several days, crossing very high upper ocean heat content values, meaning that the water is warm not only at the surface, but also in some cases several hundred meters deep. That water extends down what we call the 26 degrees Celsius isotherm, just a fancy way of saying that the water is not warm only at the surface, and well, it is warm at the surface. It's not only at the surface, what I'm trying to say, but also very deep below, and then we can assign this color code to it, yellows being, moderate values, the reds and oranges higher, and then the white and the deeper reds almost off the chart warm in terms of available energy deep within the Caribbean and even up into portions of the Gulf of Mexico. Lower upper ocean heat content values closer to the coastline, and it is October, early October, but water temperatures as a whole still warm enough to support development and sustaining of a hurricane. This color here, the green, 29 Celsius, this sort of sea green or whatever you call that, 28 Celsius, and this is 27. So we're talking about 81, 82, 83 degree water temperatures, plenty warm to support something coming up out of the deep tropics, and depending on how strong it is as it moves towards the coast, there is the potential of hurricane conditions maybe somewhere along this vicinity over the next several days. That is starting to become a possibility now. Obviously several days away, much uncertainty, but with the technology and the early detection of these systems, it's nice, I guess in one regard, to be able to say, from Cedar Key over to New Orleans, several days out, you might be wanting to look out for the possibility of a hurricane. If we can narrow it down more than that, we would, but there it is. That's what the model guidance is suggesting. Speaking of the models, this is the European from last night off of the tropicaltidbits.com website. The initial condition, 5,000 feet in the atmosphere, showing that vorticity signature. You know what, let me use the color blue just to make everything stand out better. And there it is right there, the beginnings of the 90L getting better developed. There's Ramon in the southeastern Pacific. So if we move through the frames, this is 24 hours, so this would be tonight. So we can just basically say Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night. You see how this moves on up into the Gulf of Mexico and the potential for landfall up here somewhere by day 5. So Sunday night, possibly somewhere in the Big Bend area, maybe over Tallahassee. This is one model. one run. We know from experience that things are going to change. Maybe the next run it's farther to the west. Maybe the next run it's farther to the east. You just never know. So heads up, be prepared, be ready to go, and take action if needed. We do have this advance warning. It's not a week out or 10 days, but even when Irma was way out here developing and it looked like it could come over, remember it seemed like it was going to come up to the Carolinas, and everybody in Florida was like, okay, we'll wait and see. And then as it came in even closer, it looked like it was going to be southeast Florida, but then it ended up making landfall in Naples and Marco Island. So even 2 or 3 days out, there can be track changes that have significant differences in who has the impact. And I just need to remind you of that, all right? So look at this and say, yep, there's the possibility of a hurricane. I need to be thinking about getting ready. Now let's look at the GFS at the same time frame. The initial condition from last night, and this will be tonight, Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, and just notice what a difference it looks like, kind of stretched out, not as well organized. And so I look at that and I say, okay, either the GFS has the right idea, and this is going to be a much more loosely based system and not as well organized, or the GFS is having trouble bundling all of the energy and handling the physics properly, and this will be incorrect. And it's also quite a bit farther to the west. As you can see there's the GFS 5-day position, and that is the European 5-day position. Quite a difference. Again, the bottom line on the Gulf Coast from Louisiana to the Florida Panhandle to the Big Bend, and really everybody along the west coast of Florida, because you know how the impacts can be well removed from the center. Just be paying attention to this rather closely as we track this over the next several days. And of course, you have some great tools to do so within Hurricane Pro and HD, so make sure you do that. All right, that's it for me for today. I'll be on top of this and have video discussions every day going forward. And at some point, probably going to be getting in the Tahoe and heading out into the field once again, probably on Friday. But I'll keep you up to date on that as the time gets closer. All right, have a great rest of your Wednesday. Thanks as always for tuning in. We all appreciate it. I'm Mark Sudduth for HurricaneTrack.com, my website. And for Hurricane Pro and HD, of course, have yourselves, as I said, a great rest of your Wednesday. And I'll talk to you some more tomorrow.